Hello and welcome. This is our weekly review program where we are going to bring to you major events over the week and to give you some highlights on the issues that we will discuss today. The National Defense Forces Day was celebrated this week, and we also have Ethiopia hosting the 46th CAF Ordinary General Assembly that took place in Addis Ababa. We also have the 16th BRICS Summit that brought together world leaders from different continents. The other thing, conference tourism, Addis Ababa's potential. These are the issues that we'll be looking at today, and I'm going to Chisa Mandira, along with my colleague, Ms. Gano Fentel, will bring you the program today, and we would like to say to you, welcome to our program again, and stay with us. Hello, Ms. Gano.
Hello, Gamachisa.
Yeah, how's the week?
It was great. It was a great week.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of issues, as you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Let's proceed to the National Defense Force today.
Exactly.
Which comes first and was the 117th National Defense Day. So it was great to see this day. Was great to see the recognition of the national defense, which was demonstrated by various occasions in Addis Ababa. President Haile Selassie, Chief of Staff of the National Defense Force, Field Marshal Birhanu Jula, Minister of Defense Aisha Mohammed, and other senior government officials also attended the event. So, as you know, this day is a big day for Ethiopia, for the national defense, as it honors the Ethiopian army and the sacrifice of the national defense, the forefathers, and the contribution of the Ethiopian national defense for the security of Ethiopia, for the peace and security of the Horn of Africa, and for the globe at large, from its ancient history to this day. If you see, for example, apart from its territory, the Ethiopian National Defense Force has been contributing a lot for the peace and security of the Horn of Africa, providing peacekeeping forces for the neighboring countries, and even can mention in history the Ethiopian, even the traditional defense force also contributed for the freedom of various nations in Africa and out of the continent. So honoring and giving recognition for this defense force was a great day, and President Haile Selassie also attended the event, congratulating the defense force and Ethiopians for this great day. And he said that the national defense defended the sovereignty of the country from external forces, and that was the big heroism of this national defense. But from the territory of the nation itself, it also contributed to the neighboring countries, and nowadays this defense force also has improving its capabilities in technology and other aspects. So the president also mentioned that.
Of course, the president appreciated the sacrifices made by the armed forces. The modern army for the first time was established in 1900 Ethiopian calendar. The government has taken measures to really commemorate the sacrifices of our army. Modern technology and inputs, resources have been invested into the Ethiopian army. Field Marshal Birhanu Jula also said that the Ethiopian government gives particular attention to the lives of the army, their families. So descendants of the army, their children, are provided with the things that they need. For example, housing services, anything just that they need for sustaining life. All these have been provided by the Ethiopian government. This is to really showcase the Ethiopian government's recognition of the sacrifices of the army. And Minister of Defense Aisha Mohammed has also mentioned that the Ethiopian government appreciates what has been done by the army in general. Shall we invite our viewers what the president had to say on this.
እንኳን ለ117ኛው የመከላከያ ሰራዊት ቀን አደረሳችሁ።
Congratulations to you all on this great occasion. Dear members of Ethiopian Army, Ethiopia has sustained because of you and will go on like this in the future. You have defended the sovereignty of your country from external forces, and we attribute your heroism all the time. Today, we are not only observing the great contributions of our National Defense Force, but also making sure that the military capabilities of the country are strongholds for defense mission.
Viewers, right now we go to the 46th annual summit of CAF that took place over the week in Addis Ababa, and of course many things have happened on this, and Ethiopia's new president Taye Askeselase said that the country Ethiopia has beat 2029 Africa Cup of Nations. Ethiopian government and the people in general are into football.
This CAF summit was one of the biggest issues of the week, happened in Addis Ababa. As you mentioned, President Taye Askeselase and other government officials and officials from the World Football, for example, FIFA President Gianni Infantino, and the CAF president also attended the event. The General Assembly, before the General Assembly, there were also meetings between the regional football federations. Let me mention one thing before the General Assembly that President Taye Askeselase attended. There were a dinner program at the National Palace, which Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed attended, and he gave a speech on the event. He said that Ethiopian people are as you mentioned, football lovers. Apart from being the land of athletics, Ethiopia is also land of football. It's contributed to the formation of the African football. It is a home of African football, and now in 2029 we have to bring this football home, he mentioned, and he asked the CAF management to consider Ethiopia as the best host of the 2029 African Cup of Nations. He mentioned that infrastructures are being developed, different stadiums are being built in various cities of the country, he mentioned, and infrastructures are underway to host this event, and he said we're more than ready to host this big event as country which contributes to the growth of this football and in general for the unity of Africa and the black people. The Prime Minister mentioned that as football is a tool for unity, so Ethiopia and football are highly related. So this 2029 African Cup of Nations will hopefully hosted by Ethiopia, he mentioned. And President Taye Askeselase also raised this point on the General Assembly, as you mentioned. He also raised the issue of infrastructure, and Ethiopia is ready for that. You can see how Addis Ababa is changing now, how it's become so suitable for its residents and for the guests, as it hosts a lot of guests from across the globe. So that was the biggest point of the week. If anything you can add.
It's not new for Ethiopia hosting African Cup of Nations. It hosted 3 times, especially it was a pioneer in this African Cup of Nations, and it lifted the trophy in 1962. Africa's identity and heritage. Football is central to Africa's identity and heritage, and including Ethiopia, and we have got wonderful, great global football players that have really brought huge successes in different parts of the world. We are looking forward to be endorsed by CAF to host the 2029 African Cup of Nations.
Of course.
In the case of infrastructure, of course, the country is doing great, like it's building new stadiums and hopefully, by 2029, they will be ready for the one, just that we expect to have, in the year 2029.
11 stadiums are under construction, by the way, across the country by now. So there may be growth of numbers until 2029. So that's a great opportunity for Ethiopia and for the African football to be hosted in its home.
Exactly. Of course, African football legends, especially from Nigeria, have expressed, just their interest in Ethiopia's football endeavor in general. They know the fact that, Ethiopia or Ethiopians in general love football so much, and they put, their everything, their resources into enhancing, just football.
So the other speaker was Patrice Motsepe, CAF president. He appreciated the effort of Ethiopia for hosting this annual summit and for being ready to host this Cup of Nations, the 2029, and the efforts made by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his support for the African football and in expanding such infrastructures, giving attention for the football sector. So that was also another point.
Okay, viewers, let's go to what President Haile Selassie has to say on the 46th Annual Summit of CAF.
Football makes up Africa's popular sport and is indeed central to preserving and celebrating our collective heritage. It is apparent that in today's world, sport serves as the cornerstone to unite our continent, transcending boundaries and differences. Sport makes a significant part of our national plan to harnessing our demographic dividend. We are investing heavily in sports education and in construction of infrastructure, including new stadiums and renovation the existing ones. When given the opportunity to host AFCON, we look forward to creating exceptional experience for teams, fans, and the rest of the sports family and all other stakeholders. I take this opportunity to request CAF to endorse Ethiopia's bid to host this prestigious tournament.
Yes, Ms. Gano, I think let's go to the 16th BRICS Summit. It was a significant summit.
Prime Minister Abiy and President Putin discussed bilateral issues of Ethiopia and Russia. This summit also brings member countries, the founding members and the new member states of the BRICS bloc. As you know, it's one of the biggest blocks, the economic blocks of the world right now, this BRICS. And Ethiopia has been contributing a lot for the bloc since joining this group. So on this big summit, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his delegation joined the summit, and there were bilateral discussions between the finance ministers, foreign ministers, and other ministers who joined Prime Minister Abiy for the summit. As you mentioned, Ethiopia and Russia shared a long history in bilateral issues, and as the intention of Ethiopia and Russia, the interest of Ethiopia and Russia, especially in economy, in politics, peace and security, and other issues align. So these two leaders discussed how the diplomatic and economic relation between the two countries can enhance, and Prime Minister Abiy expressed Ethiopia's commitment to improve the relation between Ethiopia and Russia. President Vladimir Putin also stated that Ethiopia's membership to the BRICS and also to be partner of Russia is biggest has biggest importance, and he also reaffirmed his nation's commitment in uplifting this relation. So if you mention economically, for example, Ethiopia and Russia in import and export and in investment, they have big ties, huge ties, and especially after joining this BRICS group, they have shared a lot of issues and common interests, especially improving the economic tie. As you know, BRICS has now exceeded $60 trillion of GDP, which has become one of the biggest in the world. By the way, it exceeds even the G7 countries right now. So this economic interest now is improving, and within the BRICS or bilaterally, Ethiopia is improving its economic benefit and economic role in the bloc and with Russia.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed mentioned during this summit that security is, one global issue that needs to be addressed by BRICS member states, and Russia's role is significant here. And there is always, as always, there is a kind of unfair place for African countries, in the Security Council, and this has to change. Reform in the Security Council needs to be made. This has been, of course, uttered clearly by member states leaders as well. And the economic ties, should strengthen, and especially the cooperation between BRICS member states has been emphasized as a result of noticing the fact that existing situations are not, in favor of developing nations. Viewers, let's watch what Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed had to say on the BRICS summit.
Allow me to congratulate you for maintaining economic resilience during a difficult period. This period was not easy for Russia, but under leadership you have succeeded to maintain the economic resilience, which might be exemplary for most of us. Mr. President, it's a good time for most of us to come and to witness how Russia is doing in many fronts, including economy. And in our exchange, there are areas that we can clearly see if we work hard and continuously engage, we can increase our economic ties, diplomatic ties, also security ties.
Scano, I think right now let's go to conference tourism. Addis Ababa's potential for conference tourism.
We will raise this point again and again, actually, as the conference tourism issue is one of the biggest concern for Addis Ababa, because it's hosting a lot of summits, a lot of conferences and events. Now the capital is expanding its infrastructure in different ways. If you see, for example, the tourism destinations are now growing, and the infrastructure, you can see, for example, the corridor development is changing Addis Ababa. Apart from Addis Ababa, by the way, there are also tourist destinations nearby. So this has to be developed, and the hospitality sector, the hotels are now, there are different international standard hotels in Addis Ababa and in the surrounding areas. So this makes Addis Ababa one of the best location to host conferences, and in this regard the tourism infrastructures also attract tourists from across the world.
If we take those countries that make the best out of their tourist attractions, they do two things. The first one is they develop tourist attractions in general, so that tourists will come over and then visit them, and from that, of course, they earn revenue. Not only that, they showcase their historical elements that makes them unique. See, if you take Ethiopia, for instance, Ethiopia has been fiercely fighting colonization. It fought colonization so hard, and this of course made Ethiopia unique. So Addis Ababa, as the capital of the country, as the capital of the African Union, the center of the African Union, can invite tourists from all over the world, having these unique features.
Yeah.
Experts in the tourism industry, just they say, East African countries, Tanzania, Kenya, and others, they are better utilizing their resources, their cultural, their natural, and other resources. Addis Ababa, should consider these things because it has a huge potential as a tourist attraction.
Yeah, maybe now it's changing, I can say, because as I mentioned, these tourist sites being developed are aimed at attracting those conference attendants. Because, for example, within a few months, Addis Ababa will host one of the biggest summits, which is the African Union annual summit. So the participants will consider now to see the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum. They will consider to see Ntoto Park and other human-oriented and tourist sites, human-oriented projects and other tourist sites. You can see the corridor development, which is literally changing, transforming Addis Ababa from the previous look. So these things are now, I think the government has given focus to change this view and to show for the conference attendants that, oh, I can stay in Addis Ababa, I can see this tourist site, I can see this. So that's, I think, now changing, and the government is exerting efforts in making Addis Ababa conference tourism center, and it will succeed hopefully within a few years to be one of the biggest conference tourism center, and apart from other tourism sectors.
Hospitality of the people and the infrastructure development that has been handled by the government, especially in recent years, will impact, just the tourism industry, obviously, positively. And we do hope that in the near future, Addis Ababa will be among, the cities that most attract, tourists from all over the world.
Of course.
Well.
If I can mention one of the focus areas that the government has given is developing conference and exhibition centers. We can mention, for example, the Adwa Victory Memorial Museum is not just a memorial museum. It is a cinema house. It is a conference and exhibition area. So that's one. The Addis Africa Conference and Exhibition Center is also among the biggest African conference and exhibition centers being developed in Addis Ababa. So this infrastructural development also will attract those conference tourism attendants and even conference tourism organizers, event organizers to host their event in Addis Ababa.
Absolutely. Facilities are, important. They play significant roles in maintaining, the tourists that happen to visit, the country. Not just, few spots that you need to deal with, but also, generally, this comprehensively facilities, should be addressed.
Of course.
And when we do that, of course, we'll be able to make the best out of Addis Ababa as a tourist attraction. Ms. Gano, I think time limits us here, and I would like to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Viewers, you've been watching our weekly review program, and today's program ends right here. Next time we'll come up with new issues. Until then, goodbye.